Welcome to State of Consciousness Podcast with your hosts Gabriela Fernandez and Ryu, along with various other community collaborators, who will take you on a journey to explore through their individual offerings and services how they are contributing to the greater shift on the planet. If you are interested in how you can both experience and become a part of this energy, sit back and give a listen, as we are all one.
Welcome back to the State of Consciousness podcast. In this episode, we are interviewing Marc James. Marc's agricultural journey began in 2006 while studying agricultural science and working as a farm tech at the University of Maryland and Eastern Shore. Upon receiving his master's in food microbiology, Marc spent years traveling to learn ancient African, Mayan, and Mennonite farming methods. In 2022, Marc was featured in the US Botanic Garden's exhibit on urban agriculture for the impacts created while serving communities facing food access challenges in Washington, D.C., with his Pay What You Can farmers market. Experienced in nonprofit advocacy and food access strategies, Marc brings a tried and true approach to food system engineering. In 2015, Marc founded Higher Harvest, where he provides technical support for commercial and residential edible gardens, NGO program development, and last mile food rescue solutions. Marc is a DC native that loves cooking, go-go, and Afrobeats, as well as live theater and comedy.
And we are just really very excited to have him on our show today, and you are going to experience wisdom and a profound journey. So we are welcoming Marc to our show.
So Marc, let's go ahead and jump in. And we just love to ask you, first off, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for giving your time and energy to be here with us today. And so we'd love to ask, as we ask all of our guests, can you share a little bit about the work you're doing in the community and how you got started? Anything about yourself that you'd like to share?
Well, greetings, Ryu and Gabby. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. That question for me is it's multidisciplinary. I got into this work one kind of by happenstance. So, all right, I guess I'll start now and then I'll work my way backwards. So currently at the moment, I'm with an organization called Dreaming Out Loud. And what we're doing is applying resistance to food insecurity in Washington, D.C., specifically focusing on Ward 7 and Ward 8, which are, some people would call it the hood. They're neighborhoods where there are about 80,000 residents and only about 5 full service grocery stores, like full service grocery stores being like a Walmart, or I don't know if you guys have like Giant Superfoods in Delaware and things like that, Safeway and so on. So our current landscape does not serve all the residents well. There are many barriers to food access in Washington, D.C. And some people say it's an accident, some people say it's intentional, but either way, there's a lot of work to be done. My journey in agriculture started in 2000. Well, some would say 2005, 2006. I was a college student at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, located in Princess Anne, Maryland, a very special historic county. We can get into the history maybe in another time, but it's a very, very special place. There's a very special energy there. A lot of overcomers, a lot of people that have been marginalized that just can't be stopped. The Eastern Shore of Maryland really taught me that if I'm really gonna take my work seriously, that I have to take it seriously. There are a lot of people that depend on me to be my best self. So I started off in college I was a business finance major, actually. I was a numbers guy. Like I loved I don't know. Yeah, I just loved being able to like dive into accounting. I know it sounds so boring now that like what I do now, like what? I would never do that.
Would
But
you believe that I was an accounting major and a computer science minor also?
oh, okay, that makes me
Yeah,
feel better.
yep, yep.
But yeah, I was a finance guy. I was on track. I was working with a woman. Her name was Lieutenant Colonel Raina Duval. She was the senior vice president for an organization that kind of just like oversaw people's portfolios and helped everybody like develop their retirement income. And I was her protege. She had me lined up to get certified. I think it's called Series 62 or Series 57
Mhm.
or something like that, where you can assist people with building their wealth. So that was at an organization called Raymond James. And yeah, I was an intern throughout my college experience there. And when I tell you all I had to do was just keep walking the path that I was on, I didn't really have to do anything different. I was aligned with some of the most powerful people in DC, from presidents, kings, all type of what we used to say hobnobs. We used to say
Mhm.
hobnob with the nabobs. So
Mhm.
I was with all the nabobs, and I mean, my life probably would have been really, really easy. Um, and then one semester I came back, and in my dorm, there are bunk beds. So I get into the dorm and there's somebody on the bottom bunk and then there's somebody on the top bunk. And I'm like, where I'm asleep. So I went to the Office of Residence Life. I told them what happened. They said it was an accident, the room got double booked, and they'll get back to me within a week with some housing arrangements. So I'm from DC, schools in Princess Anne, Maryland. It's about a 2.5, 3 hour drive each way. So I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't want to commute. I'm gonna get tired, I'm gonna get fatigued trying to go back and forth. So I literally slept in my car every day for like 2 weeks. Um, Showered in the school gym. Oh, it was rough, y'all. It was
Mhm.
rough. Asking friends to sleep on their couch and so on and so forth. And it sent me down into a depressive spiral. And I just dropped my major. I just dropped my major. Um, I was so like thrown off the first like 2, 3 weeks of school. I was just like in such a tizzy that I really didn't know which way was north. So I just switched my major to general education. Like that's basically like I'm just in college. I don't I don't know which direction I'm going, but this is like when you're undeclared or whatever, that's what they make you, just general education. So like 3 weeks go by, still no housing, still going from cars, sleeping in cars to couches to, just bumming it. And one day, a friend of mine reached out to me. He said he knew about this rooming house in town and they had an opening. So I was like, all right, where is it? I'm ready to go, jump in the car, take off. Go over there. I meet this guy, it's this eccentric like Rasta man. His name was Marto Herlock. He's a Jamaican guy, real cool dude. And he started asking me, oh, you in school? What you doing? I was like, I don't really have no major. He was like, well, I go to Eastern Shore and I'm studying agriculture. And I was like, agriculture. He's like, yeah, you ever thought about that? And I said, no, I'm from DC. Like, no farms or anything like that. And, you know, no, thinking historically, farming wasn't sexy. So it was like, you're not going to get no girls. Like, you from DC, no girls are going to care. Like, you a farmer. Ugh. Like, it was that kind of understanding at the time. Now farming is like, oh, you a farmer? It's a little bit different now. So I went to the building. It was called Trick Hall. And I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but when I walked in there, like this feeling just like came over me. It was like you're in the right place. And that day, I walked in, and the first person I met was a woman named Corey Cotton. And I just told her what happened. I was like, I'm undeclared. I had no housing. It's just been a struggle after a struggle. And she said, well, I want you to meet somebody else. So she introduced me to a woman named Dr. Lurleen Marsh. And Dr. Lurleen Marsh was like this Jamaican, like grandmotherly type of woman. I mean, the first day I went to her office, we talked for 4 hours. We just sat there and we just talked and we just connected and we just bonded. I think, looking back, I guess she was just looking into my situation and seeing what she could do for me. Because when I left her office, I had a campus job, I had a scholarship, and I had a major, and that was the beginning of the journey. And that was a life-changing experience for me because like through studying agriculture, I got a lot of internships to study abroad throughout Central, South America, um, throughout North America as well too. I had just so many opportunities just come my way, and yeah, it all just started by accident. So, knocked out the bachelor's in agricultural science, then got invited to do the master's. I did a master's in food microbiology. Um, that was just an opportunity as well because I never planned to be a microbiologist. Once again, because it wasn't sexy. Like microbiologists don't get no wife and kids. Well, that's what I was thinking. My young mind was thinking at the time. So I I did the master's. Then I did some research with the USDA for a while. And while I was doing my master's, I started my business. It's called Higher Harvest. I wanted to just teach everybody everything I knew about growing food and the importance of controlling where your food comes from. Because like during my agricultural education, I learned like how food as a system is can be controlled and manipulated. And if you really want to control the people, you just control their main resources, food, water, housing. So with all of that in mind, I was just like, I somehow like became like an activist in my local town. The first like I would say like the first like step into this work would have been when I started a garden on campus. And I don't know if you guys ever started a garden, but I went way too big. I went way too big. I did like a 75 by 150-foot plot, and just try to grow everything, fruits, greens, herbs, just my first garden was way too big for one person. But I don't know, it kind of like worked out in a strange way because then like other students, like other grad students started getting involved and they would help me. I guess they saw me struggling. So they would help me like with my heart. Of course, they would help me with the harvest, but they would also like help me with like some of my weeding and things like that. And then, one day I'm out in the garden, I'm like, Mark, the town that you're working in is like 75% under the poverty level. Take this food and give it away. So I started on Saturdays. I would go, there was a place that was called Princess Anne Townhouses. I would set up a table right there, whatever food I had. Well, the first week, yeah, it was just like whatever food I had, I could harvest. Brought all that stuff, worked smoothly. The second week, um, I had told one of the guys I was working on the farm with, and his wife worked at the chicken plant, and they donated like a couple boxes of chicken leg quarters, like these huge Purdue boxes, like 50 pounds of chicken leg quarters in them. So they gave me some chicken leg quarters to donate as well. So I'm out there now. I got food and I got meat. So like when people find out you got meat, they really show up. So I'm on the corner and this line is forming. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know if I got enough food for all these people. And then something happened that just like changed the game for me. The police showed up. The police showed up and they said that I was selling food. And I'm like, do you guys see a cash register? Do you see any money being exchanged? Do you see anything that would indicate sales? You know? I wasn't even asking for donations at the time. I was just, because everything was given to me for free. I was really just like a processor. So the guy, his name was Corporal Rob Pinchak. I'll never forget this guy's name. You know, that man flipped my table. That man flipped my table with my food on it. And man, I cried some burning tears. Oh man, I cried some burning tears, some hot tears, because I was so passionate. I think I was like 21 at the time. And I was so passionate about, this little project. I was like, man, I grew all this food, I'm giving it away. The local community, like pastors, people were like just like proud of me and so on. I was doing good in my life. And this man just came and he just like bust my bubble. But what he didn't realize, what he did is that, I'm kind of resilient in a certain way. Like if you tell me no, I want to push your no. I want to see how far your no will go. So I came back the next week. I came back with more food. I asked for more donations. It got even bigger because I started like asking for clothes and stuff too. So like me and a couple friends, we had a couple things to just not a whole lot of stuff, but we had things that we weren't using that we were gonna give away. And that time when I came back, they arrested me, and that was tough. Because that was my first time being arrested because they said it was the same thing again, that I was selling food, even though I wasn't selling any food. Um, I think they charged me with some BS, false statement to an officer. That's what they charged me with. But definitely want to say like shout out to anyone in the Divine Nine, any of the AKAs, because a few years ago I went to an expungement fair and they did all my paperwork. So, now my record's clean and stuff like that. But yeah, that was my first time like being arrested for trying to provide food, you know. But once again, it just didn't stop me. I couldn't, I was like, I remember thinking to myself in that cell, I was only in the cell for like a couple hours. They let me out on my own. They call it personal recognizance or something like that. So I didn't have any bond or anything. They just held me for a couple hours. And I just remember thinking to myself, if these people would lock me up for providing free food, what is it that they're protecting?
Mhm.
What is it that they're protecting? What is it that they're trying to keep me away from? I'm like, is it because I'm a black man? And I'm providing free resources? I'm like, what is it? And I just remember just ideating about this thing for hours. There's like, you're arresting a college student for giving away free food. That thing, I remember that thing just bothered me, just agitated me. And I remember just going back to school and going to class and so on and just thinking to myself, how do I take this thing to the next level? How do I keep pushing forward? So like I was like, I gotta knock out my school stuff. And then a tragedy hit, a real tragedy hit. I had a target on my back in that town. Every time I drove, they pulled me over. Every time, I mean, like I literally had cops just say, "Oh, I'm just introducing myself to you." And I'm like, what the hell I want to meet you for? Are you like, you're not trying to help me, they would pull me over for anything. I remember a cop, he was behind me and he said he thought I was going over the speed limit. And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I saw you behind me. So I made sure I was doing the speed limit. And he pulled me over and yeah, held me on the side of the road. I think they held me up for like 2, 3 hours. They just sat there, just asking me questions, 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 questions. That's kind of like how the system gets in your way sometimes, just to take your time. So that happened. But the real tragedy that I was talking about earlier was that rooming house that I was in. One of the guys that had lived there, he had robbed he had robbed a store at gunpoint, and the police came and they raided the house and they found 2 pounds of marijuana and a couple of guns that he had stashed in the house. He wasn't there, but myself and Martell were there. So they took us. They took us, ended up getting locked up for a year in the county jail. But it wasn't totally a bad thing. It was unfortunate, for my family. Like, we had never experienced anyone like none of my people ever went to jail. Like, all my people are like, working middle class people, working hotels, you know, some of us, like, yeah, I got a couple of people that's like bankers and stuff like that in the family, but we working class people. We don't cause trouble. We from Guyana, so when you come over to the United States, you just go to work or you go to school, you do what you got to do, stay out the way, you know. So like, yeah, that's not our thing. So yeah, our whole family was devastated. But I remember the day I got sentenced, I just told my mom, I said, don't worry about it. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Everybody was crying, everybody was so sad and so distraught because they didn't see a tomorrow from where I was. They were so locked in to this terrible thing that everybody said, not little Mark. I'm like, little Mark. I'm like, I'm 6 foot 250. What do you mean little? Like, I'm a big guy. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. And just so as it would happen, I was given something called school release. So what I would do is every day at about 4:30 in the morning, get up, get up, work out, do your morning routine. And then I would go, I would leave at 6 a.m. I would go to school, go to class all day, and I just had to be back by 4:30. It was tough because, like sleeping in a jail at night and then being free during the day, it does something to your psychology, you know? And like, I mean, I'd be in a jail and I remember like seeing 17-year-old kids coming in for murder or, I'm in there, I'm amongst predators, all types of predators. And then I'd come out and then I'd be, sitting in a classroom with some of the brightest minds in the world trying to figure out, how do we find E. coli 015787 in some leafy greens? So it was a strange time. It was a really trying time, a very polarizing time for me in my life. But I just try to make the best of it. And when I tell you, while I was locked up, I had no problems. I really didn't. One, thinking historically, I feel that the guys that I was locked up with, they knew I didn't belong there, so they didn't give me any problems. Nobody, when it was time to call my family, they would let me use the phone. When it was time to shower, they would let me shower myself. It was no problems. I never had some of the issues that you hear about in the news and so on. Matter of fact, every day when I would come back from class, come back from school, the guys would ask me like, "Hey, what did you learn today?" You know? And I remember I was taking one class. Was taking a plant ID class, and I had to learn every flower, tree, shrub that grew in what are we in? Zone 7? Yeah, I think we're in zone 7. So I had to learn so like those guys, like while I would be away, I'd come back and like they'd make flashcards for me. Like they used to love to draw. So like they would draw, the different shrubs or the different flowers. And then like on the back of the card, it would have like where it grew, what it likes. Like, is it like a full sun type of plant? Is it like water or, just like all the different characteristics. And they would drill me, they would drill me, hey, Mark, what's this? Oh, it's a crepe myrtle, da 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 da, and that semester, yeah, that semester I had a 4.0. Those 2 semesters, I had a 4.0. And I really have to attribute it to those guys. Well, part of it, it's me, but also those guys that were in there with me. They made sure I knew everything I needed to know. And I remember there was a guy that I met. His name was Gary. And he had a toxic dependency or chemical dependency. that they call it now. And I remember him sharing with me that the reason why he was locked up was because he was hungry one day, so he robbed this store. And in the midst of robbing the store, um, he said he didn't mean it, but the gun accidentally went off, and he murdered somebody. And I was just like, damn, if this guy just had a place to go to get some food, you know, he wouldn't be here. I mean, he was one of the people that like really stood out to me. One, because he taught me how to play chess. This guy, he used to play chess backwards. Like if we're sitting at a table playing chess, he would play my side, you know, and I had to play his side because he said it was important that you always knew how to see the game from other people's point of view. So like that kind of made me like a chess master. So like, yeah, we used to play chess and we would talk. This guy was brilliant, but he just had a serious addiction. So like those stories, always like walk with me. They're always on my fingertips, as I move through this work, and just like hundreds of people that I've met over the years, people that are dealing with HIV, people that are sick and shut in. Um, Before I was at Dreaming Out Loud, I was at an organization called Common Good City Farm. It's located right by Howard University on 4th and V Street. And that was where I got to do two programs that I'm very proud of. The first program is the Pay What You Can Farmers Market. What happened one day was I realized like where I was. I was in this park, and to the north of the park was Kelly Miller Housing, where like 95% of the population there is below 300% of the poverty level. But then to the south of the park, you have a neighborhood called Bloomingdale. And like literally it's a park right here in the middle. And then one street, V Street, is Kelly Miller Housing. And then the next street over, Elm Street, is Bloomingdale, where houses are on sale for like, hear me, on sale. The average price of a house is like $1.2 million. So I said, I remember sharing with the executive director at the time that we have a we have an opportunity here. The people here need food. The people over on this side probably make more than enough money to buy their own food and possibly assist others that are in need of food. So, we start to put some grant language together. We start just writing, and we start, promoting this thing. It's called the Pay What You Can Farmers Market. So basically, people could come, they could shop, and they could take up to $20 worth of food at, whatever price that they could afford. I had to set a cap in the beginning because I didn't know the full degree of the work I was doing. I just knew I was going in the right direction. So I put, a couple like protocols in place, just to make sure I can kind of control the growth because yeah, like in this economy, we're in a capitalist economy. So people finding out that they can come and get food for free, like even people that don't need it may come and get it. But I'll tell you, it was a very special place. It was a very special time. It was a very special place because everybody's. I remember people telling me, like people from school, or just like people in the neighborhood, like, why you want to do that? Why you want to do that? People are going to exploit you. People are going to take advantage of you. This, that, and the third. And I let the ning ning go. I just all right, ning 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 ning. Go ahead. I don't care. I had a vision. I had a purpose. Something told me to just do it, so I just walked with it. And when I tell you, not only did the market make money, it didn't just make money, it had such an impact that the local government got involved. Like DC government got involved, the mayor's office got involved because they saw what was happening, the way that, we marketed everything, the way that You know, I do things that I did to, you know, build up all the customer base. You know, they saw what was happening. And, you know, you got to thinking back, you know, this was right after the pandemic. This was like 2021. Well, not after the pandemic, but like as we're emerging from the pandemic, you know, 2021. So, yeah, it was almost like for every person that needed assistance, like two or three people showed up and paying for their products from the farmers market, but also leaving it a donation as well. Um, and everything just ended up covered. You know, everything just ended up covered. So yeah, I started that 2021. I'm no longer with that organization at the moment, but that program is still going on. They still have the pay what you can farmers market every year from April to November. So that was one program. And then the other program I started was a senior delivery program. Because of where we were, there was a building like literally right across the street, the seniors building. And, you know, many times, like when it comes to food access, like for seniors, they're kind of limited into like what they can like choose. You know, it's like they got like Meals on Wheels. I don't know if they do that up by you guys. So
Mm-hmm.
if people they bring food, but it's usually like canned food or like food like a lot of salt. So I remember talking to some seniors one day, and they were like, "Yeah, we get the food, but sometimes we don't even eat it because it could trigger their hypertension. You know, it could trigger their diabetes. So it's like they're getting free food, but this food, you know, is harmful to them. So there's like I remember this lady saying to me, you know, sometimes not eating is better than eating bad food. And I was like, damn, that is that's an awful choice to have to be. That's an awful position to have to be in to make a tough decision like that. Like, I want to eat, but after I eat this food that they provided me with, it's gonna shorten my days, you know. So, you know, me just being positioned, you know, where I was and I said, man, how do we get food to seniors? You know, there's got to be some grant funds available. There's got to be somebody who cares about getting food to seniors. And there are. There's millions of dollars. There's millions of dollars out there, you know. So now we've got this model, you know, we've got this model for increasing food access and some people call it the hood. I call them super ultra sensitive communities. You know, I think of it as if I had to get food into Gaza, how would I get food into Gaza?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we've got these communities, you know, that are experiencing all of the most painful vicissitudes of life, and I'm just like, what can I do here? So yeah, now we have this model. We've got we've got a small farm. You know, it's about I think Common Good City Farm was about like 3/4 of an acre. You know, it wasn't a big
Mm-hmm.
farm. Small farm, had a pavilion. We had to get a refrigeration. We had to get storage. We had a small hoop house. You know, tons of volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
I think we used to get about 2,000 volunteer hours every season. And I'm like, this thing can be replicated in community after community. You know, we see what it takes to make it work because it was a small staff. We only had about 4 people, 4 or 5 people that worked there full time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, about 2 people that worked there part time. So I'm seeing this thing. I'm like, yo, this is an answer. You know, this is a way to apply pressure, apply resistance to hunger in our area. You know, and areas all across the United States. You know, I love like in Detroit, they have this thing called the Foodway. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, but
Mm-hmm.
same thing, small farm, and then community got together, they got a building, and then now they have like an actual like food hall. and things like that. But all these things started from small farms, you know, a
Mm-hmm.
couple people with some good ideas and some energy and some time, you know. So like urban farming, you know, is very interesting because you do start off like, all right, yeah, I want to grow some food. You know, you start off with a little bit of curiosity and things like that. But then, you know, people come and they bring themselves to the farm. You know, they bring their stories, they bring their trials, their tribulations, their joys. Some people bring some money. Like
Mm-hmm.
people just bring themselves, whatever they embody, you know, they bring to the farm. And then all of a sudden you just have this like you got this like motley crew of different types of people and different types of resources. I remember like some of the volunteers were accountants, some of the volunteers were grant writers, some of the volunteers were historians, just like all these different type of people. And I'm like, yo, we can do great work, you know, we can do really good things here. And we start making change, you know, we start bringing hope. That farm, like Common Good City Farm, for example, you know, it's in a neighborhood where gunshots go off every night.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a neighborhood where multiple teenagers have been killed. You know, it's in a neighborhood where you're not far away from these things that you hear about on the news, carjackings, all of the major crimes, you know. So we're in this community and now we start to really like braid ourselves into the community, going to local housing meetings, figuring out how to advocate for folks. I remember going in some of those buildings and people didn't even have doors on their locks. I mean, I said that backwards. People didn't even have locks on their doors. I remember seeing people that would just have like a chain, you know, going through like where the doorknob should be and then attaching that to something else. It's not anything safe for, you know, a family. And I strongly believe that like people like myself, people that have been privileged to go to school and learn and be able to go into chaotic situations and untie all those knots, because that's what we do as leaders. Really, we go into these chaotic situations and we see where, okay, that needs a little cleaning up there, that needs a little polishing there. These people need somebody to just write an email for them. These people just need somebody to come and advocate for them at a meeting that can speak clearly and articulate. You know, so we have all these gifts and we have all these uh we have so much to offer. You know, I believe a lot of us don't know how much we truly have to offer. You know, we're not fully exercising all of our gifts, all of our talents, because we just don't know. You know, you don't know till you see a problem. You know, they always say the people that care the most are the ones that are closest to the problem. So if we at home on Instagram, you know, we're not near the problem. You know, which is why I'm on the social media break right now. Like, I haven't been on social media in months. And number one, I recommend it for everybody. If you were anything like me and would spend, you know, any moment that you got checking your social media, oh man, take 3 or 4 months off. Take 3 or 4 months off. I'm not saying like end it, but just like step back for a little bit and like really take a look at, you know, man, all this content, you know, occupying all this brain space for what?
So Mark, I I could observe and listen to you talk through all um your different experiences for days, and we're going to continue to let you talk. But before we get too far down the road, because I had a couple questions I wanted to just ask you. Well, first is, when are you going to write your first best-selling book?
Write a book.
Because here's the thing, and
I don't know.
and I kind of say this in a, well, everybody always wants people to write their book and the story, but just in this brief time of you sharing your story, there are so many dimensions here. You talked about interdisciplinary, multidimensional. there's so many dimensions here of learning, um, for not only somebody who has come down a path the way in which you have, but also the folks that have experienced you on the other side of this, you know. And as I was listening to you speak, and Gabby, you please interject wherever you see fit. As I was listening to you share your story, you knew, right? You knew way back when there was, outside of the fact that you like numbers and finance and things like that, but there was some kind of seed that was planted with you real early. There was a whisper in the wind, and there was a drive within you of wanting to do good in the general world, wanting to do good by people, your ability to recognize the oppression, your ability even in the most difficult situations to kind of rise above it. I mean, being in a jail space, regardless of how much time, you could have chosen to focus on other things while you were there, but you didn't. So I asked you that $1 million question. What was it? What was it that you felt, allowed you to time after time after time through what you have shared with us thus far?
Mm.
Because I know there's more and we want to hear the more, right? What was it that just kept you going? I mean, it's like and it's funny because I had to laugh when you said, when you're talking about the almighty no. Because I was just like you when I was younger. If you tell me no, I'm going to show you the yes, right? That became a motivator for me, right? And oftentimes, if we are of a certain ilk, when we're in certain situations, folks don't understand how powerful that is. But you know, as I digress, but shifting back to my original question, what was it? It's like you were surrounded by some kind of bubble or something.
Mm. Oh man, that the answer to that question, gosh, where can we go? I mean, one, I'm not the kind of person that lets what's going on around me define who I am. I think that's the first thing. Like I can be in the midst of chaos, but not to say that, I'm impervious to anxiety or I'm impervious to depression. I've experienced all those things, but I just don't suicidal thought, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to dark places before. I've gone to Nadir. And Nadir is a Arabic word for your deepest depression.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to those places, but it's an internal resiliency. It's a desire. I don't know. I'm the kind of person, once I experience a deep sadness, I think it's my hope to make sure that nobody else does. And I've been like that since I was a kid. Like my mom, she always used to tell this story about how, like when you drop kids off at preschool and so on, and like they're all crying, like, oh no, I don't want to go. And she was like, you would literally just walk up to kids, put your arm around them and say, come on, man, we're gonna have a good day. We're gonna go have fun. So I always, I don't know, is this sufferation, especially this earthly sufferation that we're all experiencing, we're all in it together, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So if you suffering, I'm kind of suffering a little bit too,
Mm-hmm.
So my answer to the suffering is bring some food to the table, man. And we can even if we hurting, at least if we got something to eat,
Mm-hmm.
we'll get through today and better must come. I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's always at the center of my heart, that better must
Mm-hmm.
come. But
I get the sense that you really don't truly know how bright your light is.
that's the
I
greatest
think you
compliment I
have.
think I've ever heard in my
I
life.
think. I think. I think you understand on some level, right? Just based on what you shared with us, but you just carry this energy with yourself that is, it's very purposeful and intentional. It just feels that way to me. And I know when you and I first got to know each other through CAIC, which, just share with the audience, Mark and I serve on a consulting team. It's an initiative with the Chesapeake Innovation Center, where we offer um, small farm education to with a focus on supporting underserved farmers, right? And giving them a vehicle. Of course, we go across the landscape, with providing to also traditional farms and things of that nature. But really, it's a team of predominantly BIPOC individuals who are trying to be a vehicle to support other BIPOC individuals out. And I know when you and I first talked, and we've been trying to get together physically for some time, um, I was just so impressed with the energy that you carry, and you shared snippets of what you talked about today with me, but through the whole story, even the difficult pockets, I was just like, man, this man's got some stuff going on. Yeah, he's really got this intentional spirit that's out there and here to do work in a purposeful way. So I am again um, very honored to have you sharing your story here today, because I think folks listening to this, and we get such a diverse group of individuals, and then some of the young people, they need to hear this, right? This is all about reciprocity. This is all about, taking care of each other. This is all about dipping down and giving folks an opportunity who maybe didn't have the same starting points, right?
Mm.
Because if we're all not okay, then we're not okay. And that's a point that folks fail to realize a lot of times when this type of work is being done, or they're looking at certain things. When we talk about, you know equity and inclusion, we all have to be okay for the world to be okay. And I think we're moving into a time now where people understand that a little bit better.
Mm.
So yeah, I do have some more questions, but of course, but I don't want to monopolize it, because I know Gabby has some that she would like to ask you, and because she's meeting you for the first time, I want to make sure that she gets the space to do that before we continue our conversation.
Thank you. Before I ask my next question, I also just felt like commenting that it's just beautiful to see how, with you, like Ryu said, shining your light, and the words I had written down, I had asked the same question: how has your heart remained so open throughout all the wrongfulness that's been done onto you? It's mind-boggling to me. I'm like listening to your story and just seeing that with all the love that you put out, the light that you put out, you've had the support coming back towards you to co-create kind of this whole journey. It's just beautiful from the moment, that a friend guided you towards that housing where you met the first man who introduced you to agriculture and all that, to the garden being too big on campus and then other students getting involved. And then just time after time again, the support coming back to you from you having that intention in your heart to serve the world and to help people out. It's just so beautiful. So I just had to comment on that. Thank you for what you're doing. And I'm curious to know, have you always been into, like, that was the first time getting introduced into agriculture, but were plants and, growing any gardens or anything like that ever a part of your upbringing or anything? Or was it more just in your college days that seed was planted?
Absolutely not. I was a straight up sports jock. Football, baseball, basketball, girls, cars, this like all that superficial stuff. And I hate that that's the truth, but that's the truth, you know? That's the truth. I was plants, absolutely not. Gardening, not at all. That was not, you know, even sometimes when I look back, I'm like, how did I end up here? Because I would have never, you know, left to my own devices, I would have never gotten into agriculture, you know. That's why I don't know, man. Something spiritual, something powerful is happening here, you know, and I'm just happy to be the vessel, you know. I'm just happy to be the one to just be that guy, you know. Um, how is it that my heart stays open? Well, you know, now we're getting into like the laws of life. You know, you get back what you put out, you know. You always get back what you put out. It never fails. It may take a long time. It may take forever. It may not come when you want it to. But at the end of the day, you know, just because I'm down, that doesn't give me permission to bring others down. That doesn't, that's not how it works, you know. You know how they say like hurt people hurt people? Well, you know, heal people too. You know? That's it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ryu, I'll give you the floor to ask the next question.
So, you know, you had this very expansive time where you kind of took us backwards, but then backwards had this long journey leading up to a certain point, you know, and now you're with your current organization. But I don't think that that's where the horse stops. What is what's your grand plan, man?
My grand.
What's your grand plan? Where what if you kind of just, you know, took a pause, you know, and certainly we know that times like moving so fast and anything can happen. Your story just, you know, showed us that. But if you had your druthers, somebody said, okay, Mark, you know, what is it that you ultimately want to do? Where do you want to take this? What's the next level? What do you think uh your ultimate place is in this grand play, if you will? You obviously are making the food to people, you know, connection, and this is your vehicle, this is your entryway, but where do you want to take this platform?
You know, I mean, first, we feed the hungry. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we do.
Mm-hmm.
We feed the hungry. And we feed the hungry. I mean, people hunger for food. People hunger for, you know, all of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people hunger for a lot of things. I hunger for justice and righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not self-righteousness, but righteousness. Like
Mm-hmm.
I need my community straight. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to take care of my community. Wherever I am, wherever I'm planted, I want to make sure that that community is being
Mm-hmm.
treated just and being treated fairly. Um, the grand plan has not been fully revealed to me yet, you know, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking it day by day and
Mm-hmm.
doing what I can. It's
Mm-hmm.
you know, I was raised that, you know, we're humans, but we're more spirits. We're spirits having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just watching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just watching, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I stay aligned with truth and I operate in truth
Mm-hmm.
as best as I can. You know, I try to be peaceful in my deeds, try to make sure I have full knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm accessible and supportive to the people that ask of me. You know, one of the um one of the things that really is like magnetic to agriculture about me is there's so many like parallels to life on that farm. I remember many times just being on farms and like we could be doing some mundane task like weeding. or something like that. He's like hand weeding. Now I worked on a lot of organic farms. I worked like organic tomato farms and strawberry farms and all that stuff. So everything is by hand. We're not using any machines and things like that. And we'll be sitting out there. We'll be just weeding or seeding or whatever. But for me, oftentimes, especially in the beginning, it was the first time that, I mean, they call it grounding now, but it was the first time I would get to be still and process thoughts and figure things out, spend time like visioning. It was very meditative. Well, actually, no, I would say probably both meditative and cathartic. It was very therapeutic to just be out outside, under the sun, receiving that good sun chi and that good ground chi and that good plant chi, all that energy just coming at you. And, before I was aware of all these different frequencies and all these different levels in life, I thought I was just weeding, So like when you talk about like the grand plan, my hope is that, man, our community, our world, man, we need to slow down. We need to slow down before we crash. We're moving entirely too fast. And even when I was at Common Good City Farm, I'd be out there. I used to lead a volunteer group on Tuesdays. So I'd be out there with different volunteers and we'd be, I don't know, doing whatever little farm task. And I can't tell you the number of times I look over and I just see somebody just crying. There's a lot of people coming into all these different spaces in the world, and the tears are just right behind their eyes. Some can't pour out, but some is a lot of people just overstimulated, overwhelmed by just all the things that just keep happening over and over. And it seems like there's no break. There's no pause. It's just one thing after another. Boom, 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 boom. There's a lot of people out here extremely anxious, extremely depressed, extremely overstimulated. Because, I mean, it's the design of the system. It's not an accident that they feel this way, between social media, the bills, the cost of living, just like everything that's going on, So it's a lot of people that really haven't, like, been exposed to plant knowledge, or like groundation, or being able to understand that, all right, now we're getting into the deep stuff. For me, plants and humans are not that far apart. Chlorophyll to a plant is nothing but blood to the body. You with me?
I'm 100% with you.
Okay.
100%. I'm just
So,
sitting here smiling, waiting for the next words.
like I studied plant behavior, I studied plant behavior. A plant's not getting enough sun, what will it do? It'll bend to the sun. The human being, we not getting enough sunlight. We not getting treated the way we need to be treated. We're gonna go find what we're looking for, when we're not receiving the right nutrients. What do? We wither. The plant withers. We're not that far apart. We're actually a lot more connected to this earth than many people would really even understand. And, it's me that like, yeah, I kind of braid a lot of things together. I braid psychology together. I braid botany. I braid plant behavior, sociology, economics. I braid all of those things together because I see the connections. You know, I see, I just see things a little bit differently, and I see where some people would spend some time in a garden, and it could be some of the medicine that they need, you know. Yeah, I'm not saying like don't take your pills and stuff like that. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. But I believe that, nature has a therapy for us, that's right there in front of us. And simply just having a few plants in the house or a small like garden in the back. I think everybody should have a garden or at least be 1 degree away from somebody with a garden or a farm. Because we all need some green therapy.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking, I got the idea of another metaphor with the natural world is that our communities is similar to that mycelium network that
Mm-hmm.
helps support, when one plant maybe is, or at least the trees, when one tree is sick or suffering a little bit, the mother trees or the other trees send some nutrients to it. They're the mycelial network, and that's similar to our communities helping each other.
If the plants know to be interconnected, why don't we know that?
Mm-hmm.
And why don't we live on that?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Most of the I would say all of the conditions that are existing in the world right now are these broken connections, right? And the belief of separatism, which is all been contrived, as you alluded to earlier. You can control the masses much easier when you have them in separate pockets. So this whole process that we're going through this transformation process right now. Some say it's awakening, some call it ascension, some call it by other things, is almost like the reestablishment, I believe, of these connections and these awarenesses. Um, and so there are a lot of people on the earth, such as yourself right now, who this um, conversation has been emanating from within them more strongly, and for a longer period of time, you know, almost so that it feels like they can help facilitate that with others, or co-facilitate, co-create, however you want to look at that. So I am, I know we're kind of slowly approaching the top of our hour, and Gabby always has like this question of grandeur to ask, but um, I'm not surprised by this conversation, but I'm also surprised at the same time, because what I thought was Marc James deep, it's Marc James deeper and wider and more vast, and it's just if for me, it's just such a breath of fresh air, and I give thanks again for the level of sharing and transparency that you've given on this podcast, because we're hearing from an educator, we're hearing from a teacher, we're hearing from a social activist, and we're hearing from just this kind, compassionate human being, right? You're bringing all this to the table, and every action that you do, your energy about you carries this across, and again, I just feel it's all intentional, and it's so interesting to me how we all at different points in our life, whether it's earlier on, or these awarenesses come about, as we get a little bit further, we have in our mind, oh well, this is the way my story's going to go, and we realize that the universe already has your story, right? You're just walking through the elements of it, and it's and oftentimes, as we've spoken to people in our podcast so far, or people that come to the center, you're often hearing these same themes, right? The stories are different and unique to the individual, but it's not by happenstance that the same energy and theme comes up time and time again. It's just always so amazing to me how it translates in different people's lives. And I just kept smiling along the way, inside and out, the whole time you were sharing, even with the things that were um, difficult, because you hear the difficult part of it, but what was even bigger was the overcoming of that, right? And the powerfulness associated with the overcoming of that, and taking that and utilizing so that it's such that it benefits everybody. And that's truly a gift. You know, that is truly a gift. That's your ultimate gift. The food is imperative. It's a vehicle. It's what's needed. But your ultimate gift is this ability to take that energy, redirect it, and use it for the greater good. And that was kind of what I was hearing
Mm.
throughout this conversation.
Mm. Well, my hope is that, the people on the other side of this Zoom call would know that, man, we really can't be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
can't.
Mm-hmm.
All of our trials and our tribulations, all the things in our lives that we don't understand that happen to us, and that some things we may continue to not understand and may never understand, but it don't have to stop your work.
Mm-hmm.
It don't have to stop your life work. Your life work can keep going with, you can carry on, and I'm a living example. There's things that happen to me. I mean, we can go a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that happen to me. Sometimes I don't even want to unearth those things,
Mm-hmm.
but for my own health, I do,
Mm-hmm.
and I share with others so that they can see that, you know, I had a couple people in my life commit suicide. And I really wish that one, yeah, somebody would have been able to be there to let them know that their presence brings joy to somebody somewhere, even if they don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And that whatever they're going through right now, suicide is a long-term solution for a short-term problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend time with folks, in hopes that, as I live my life, they can see that, man, things can happen. Things can happen that hurt us deeply, that sting us, but it's not the end, you know. We don't know the end. And that's the most beautiful part about this farming and agriculture and just life in general. We don't know the end. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to stay and watch. You
Mm-hmm.
have to stay and continue to apply positivity.
Mm-hmm.
You have to continue to apply resistance to the things that hurt you deeply, that take you off your path. In psychology, they got this word, it's called ego dystonic.
Mm-hmm.
Ego dystonic thoughts, thoughts that are not of ourselves that may control us. You can push through that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people that experience all types of things, hallucinations, voices, all types of loss. And it makes them respond in a way that's not themselves. But even through that, you can push through
Mm-hmm.
with the right support, with the right community,
Mm-hmm.
with that mycelium network you were talking about, Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes all of us, man. We all in this thing together. And that's probably the biggest lesson agriculture has taught me. Because in all my work that I've done, I didn't do it by myself. It was always in community. That's why, like, even when we started, I would tell you the names of the people. Because without them, I couldn't be here. I could run off names till tomorrow. It's so many people. I mean, you might see me, but it's probably like 100 people that poured into me for me to get to where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't know, Ryu. I don't know, Gabby. My hope is that, man, in the Hindu religion, they got this thing called the Vedas. I don't know if y'all familiar, but it refers to like how close or how far away we are from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, we were in the fourth Veda, meaning like we were very far from the truth. This was probably like early like 2000s into like the mid 2000s. And then like getting closer to the pandemic time, we moved back into the first Veda, which is knowing the truth. We've gone from the age of just guessing. Now we're in the age of knowing, you know. So I think when you were talking about, you're talking with a lot of different people, all these themes, they keep coming out. It's because that's the energy that life in the world is pulling out of us now. Because we're in such dire situations that if people don't really share their life story and who they are and what they believe, you know, others are going to continue to fall. others are going to continue to be lost. So it's really like our duty to continue to be a living sacrifice, to continue to like I love that farm that you have. You know, it's a beautiful open space. The energy is beautiful. We need those, you know, we need more people to share what they have, you know, to create open spaces. Because, man, we're carrying too much weight out here right now. Like I said, we're moving way too fast, you know.
He just kind of wrapped a big hug around our last question.
I
We want,
know.
we always say to folks at the very end, you know, what wisdom do they want to share with with our listeners? And you've been sharing wisdom the whole conversation. You know, um, and you just kept bringing it down to different levels. So, you know, I'll just open it up if there's any additional parting words that you would like to leave our audience with, because this has been a very powerful and compassionate and kind and aware and heart-centered conversation. And I'm sitting here like humming right now, and I know that's going to be the effect with others that listen to you.
Um, Parting words. Um, Number one, I would say right now we don't need any messiahs. We just need each person to just put a little bit of effort in. We don't need to look to anybody else to be our guiding light and things like that. We're past that. That might have been like my parents'
Mm-hmm.
generation type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's about each of us just applying positivity to the pot.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
almost every institution that many of us, I'm 38, so
Mm-hmm.
almost every institution that I grew up understanding, church, school, all of them have been put under fire.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I
Absolutely.
grew up believing in is almost unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
has been questioned, has been proven to be, you know, no, well, nothing's infallible, you know, but right now it's just important that each of us, you know, just bring what you got.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wherever you are, whatever you got, start with that. And nothing has to be perfect, you know. Plus, perfection is a lie anyway. Nobody's perfect. We all have, you know, I'm no different than anybody else. I've experienced, you know, all the different pains, everything that hurts, you know, everything doesn't feel good. And we all experience it maybe just a little bit differently, you know. And I will hope that people will just stop pretending that we not hurt. People are tired, you know. We want a different world. We do this work because this thing, something's got to give, something's got to change. You know, we shouldn't I believe all people deserve access to quality food. All people. That's the poorest of the poor to the richest of the rich. You know, but we have to find a way to do it without exploiting one another. That's the real work. How do we do this thing? You know, we kind of grew up in this situation where it's like somebody got to be on top, somebody got to be on bottom. That must end. That must end. You know, the billionaire has just as much responsibility to the poor as the poor have to the billionaire. The billionaire has to know there's a lot more value in pouring into a community than investing in guns and weapons. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a lot of people that just, they don't want to accept, you know, that we are one world.
Mm-hmm.
We really are one world. We're all citizens of this planet Earth. We're all in this thing together. Because we know that wherever poverty exists anywhere, that's potential for evil. That's where evil comes from. Evil comes from poverty. Whenever there's somebody hurting somewhere, they're gonna find a way to scam their way out, And it's just a circumstance. So until we continue to address poverty, we're gonna just let evil run. Evil don't come from nowhere. Evil comes from hurt.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know what happened to that. I don't know. Yeah, parting words. Yeah, definitely continue to stay in community with one another, lean on one another, be honest with one another, fully and truly. You know, share good food with each other. Food is the thing that continues to like bring communities together. I've said, like at the farms, we used to have these dinners, and I would invite all types of people that lived in the projects, people that lived in, mega mansions. You know, I got friends so deep in debt, they may never get out. And I got friends that got so much money, they don't know what to do with it, you know? So I said, man, I got to get these people at the same table, you know? And we got to talk about communities. How does one person have so much and another person have nothing? There was this study in the Journal of Psychoneurossociology, and what they looked at was addiction and money. So on the surface level, of course, like what we all hypothesize is true, that if people don't have money, there's an increase in addiction. you know. So if we can just like if we can take these facts that we know and do something about them, I hate, like, I'm a person, I love like reading journals, like New England Journal of Medicine, Journal of Psychology, things like that. And it's like there's so much information out there and people know, it's just like we need to start doing stuff about it, you know. So yeah, on a 50-50 scale, you know, no money, no money, more addiction. Money, less addiction. So it's like, I don't know. The way I look at it is like kind of obvious what to do. You need to start pouring into these communities. I don't know what the proletariats are waiting on. I don't know what the billionaires are waiting on. It's to me, it's so simple. You
It
know.
is. It is simple, and and I agree with you. We made it complex by design. It's intentional.
Yeah.
But I think people such as yourself, ourselves, others, we're we're going to shift, and we are shifting this paradigm of awareness. And again, I'm so grateful um, that you've been here today to be a demonstration of that for folks, and a reminder, because sometimes we get frustrated and we get into the spin of things and the skullduggery of it,
Mm,
but we have each other to remind each other how important it is to keep on moving, and to reflect, you know, between us. Your reflection back to Gabby and I have said, because we often have conversations all the time about the frustration and the complexity of doing this type of work.
mm,
But when we sit on a podcast and we talk to folks such as yourself, it's like a boost of energy. It's like, oh yeah, that's why we're doing what we're doing,
mm,
right? And I think that's why these reminders through your discussion are so powerful. So, I want to first thank you again for being here today, and I'm sure we'll talk to you sometime again down the line as your flower of life keeps blooming,
mm.
and seeing all the different roads that you're going to travel down continue to facilitate these wonderful impacts that you are in the community and the greater community.
The year is gonna be busy, but I hope to make my way up to you soon.
Oh yeah, you will. You will. I have no doubt.
Would you share with us, with our audience, how they can connect with you as well if they want to find out more about the projects that you're working on or just connect with you in general?
Oh yeah. I'd say the easiest way to connect with me is probably through email. My email address is info at ahigherharvest.com. I got social media, but I'm not active right now. But on Instagram, Marc.James, MARC period JAMES. But yeah, email is always the best way. I got a website, ahigherharvest.com. Yeah, that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We'll be sure to share those links with the audience in the show notes. We'll look out for that book.
Absolutely.
That seems like such a daunting task to me. I think I am not attracted to the idea of writing a book. I'd rather maybe an audio book or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a documentary.
Or
Maybe a documentary. There you go.
sounds like more work.
We already are dropping little nuggets out there, Mark.
And I'm catching them.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely. And then the organization I'm with is Dreaming Out Loud. So that's dreamingoutloud.org. Man, we need about 100 more of them. We're a vertically integrated food hub, serving a community that has been marginalized for decades. And it's a privilege to be able to apply resistance to food insecurity in the communities that we serve. I love coming through with the trucks full of strawberries and watermelons, and I mean it's the good stuff, good organic stuff, not that old stuff they selling at the grocery store. Yeah. Oh, parting words. Yeah. Go get you a farmer friend. I need everybody go get you a farmer friend. We got these grocery stores, they're getting out of hand. Their prices are getting out of hand. I mean, you go there, you spend $100 and leave with a bag and a half. Hell no, that's completely unacceptable.
And it's not good stuff.
And yeah, and then that's the part that really like burns me. Like stuff will rot in like 2-3 days. You're like, oh my God, man! Like, how fast you expect me to eat? It's crazy. No, go get you a good. I need everybody go get you a good farmer's friend. Go to the farmer's market on the weekends or find a service that connects you with farm fresh food. Because I tell you what, my mom just beat cancer, and she said the biggest thing that she think had to do with it was the food, food and the environment. She ate organic every day. Every day, everything organic, nothing. I mean, I did her shopping and stuff like that, so everything organic. And yeah, we from the Caribbean, we from Guyana, so just like good sunlight, good air, just being around the right people, all of those things contribute to health. And I'm not making this up. These are research facts.
This is the research facts, absolutely.
So yeah, get you a good farmer friend to start off with, and get yourself in the right community. Find your tribe.
Well,
it was a blessing to meet y'all, and a blessing to meet you, Gabby.
You
It was
too.
a pleasure to speak with you again, Ryu. I miss you. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, it's as it is in your world, it's always something's always happening. So we got to keep those somethings keep happening. And we all are connecting, I believe, intentionally. And this is a wonderful thing. So thank you again, Mark. And this has been a real blessing.
All right. All right, y'all. Peace.
Thanks for joining us. at State of Consciousness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us and look forward to the next time. Until then, if you'd like to stay connected, you can feel free to reach out to us via our website at www.innersourcewellnesscenter.com. There you will find links to our podcasts, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel, as well as our mailing list. Stay connected, stay positive. Namaste.